Hi, welcome to the Random New Guest podcast. Today I'm joined by. Do you go by Snorlax?
Yeah,
Okay, I'm joined by Snorlax here today. Um, how are you? How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. I've been getting back into tea drinking, so I have a cup of tea here. I'm feeling pretty good. Yeah,
I love tea. What kind of tea do you go for? Are we talking hot tea, cold tea?
hot tea. I have a really sensitive palate, so I'm rocking rooibos tea right now because pretty much anything else is too bitter.
Oh, okay. I've never heard of rooibos.
It's South African. It's sometimes called like red bush, I think is the translation.
Oh, red bush tea. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know tea. I feel like I just drink like black tea. Whatever I can get my hands on, whatever's just available. Um, so I've been told that you like comic books. Let's get into that.
I do. I love comic books.
Okay. Okay. What's like
Spe-
specifically
Specifically X-Men, I would say.
X Men? Okay. Okay.
Comics as a whole, I'm a lot less knowledgeable about, although I have some knowledge, but it's mostly the X-Men that I'm kind of lasered in on.
Do you do just X? Like, are we talking X Men in Marvel, DC at all?
Um, I I've read maybe five total DC comics. It's
Yeah, that's more than me.
which it's kind of unfortunate. I do really like a lot of the characters and storylines, but it's the X-Men were what got me into comics, and it's where I've stayed for the most part.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I've heard good things about the X Men comics. I've never read one. I don't know. I'm having trouble thinking on if I've actually ever read an X Men comic book. Where would you start? What's a good starting point? I know this is a
I
hard one.
the the correct answer is probably the start of the Krakoa era, um, which
Okay,
was
okay.
late 2010s, I think.
Started Koya late 2010s.
Because that was that's with Powers of X, House of X, Powers of Ten, was
Okay.
the intro into it, and that's probably the correct place to start because it's a new era, it's fairly modern, and it lasted for a very long time. You could read nothing but Krakoa era comics, and you would be hard pressed to run out.
Yeah, it always blows my mind, like just how many comic books are out there, especially with the big two. Like, I don't
Yeah,
know. I've tried getting into them, and I have. Like, I've read at least 20 Marvel comics, but there just feels like there's always there's always a different era. They're talking about the X Men Krakoa. We're talking about like uh, the certain run by like Jason Aaron that like starts off like an Avengers era. Like, I don't know. It's just hard for me to fully commit to like reading a certain group. I don't know.
yeah, it seems very daunting, especially from the outside. I will say once you've started reading comics, it's a lot less serious.
Fair.
And especially where I started was with Claremont's run of the Uncanny X-Men, which is my personal favorite. That's in 1975 to
Ooh, okay.
the early 1990s. Like it was 25 years. And that's what popularized the X-Men. That's the
Yeah.
like classic X-Men in a lot of people's heads. If it's not from the animated show, it's from Chris Claremont. And that had a lot of pressure during the time to be like, oh, anybody could pick up any comic and have that be their first comic, so we need to be constantly restating things, constantly readdressing things. So you'll get like really fun, like thought bubbles where someone's just like throwing a punch, and then the thought bubble is like a full paragraph of like, thanks to my super speed, I'm able to throw this punch really fast. Just in case there was a new person there who didn't know that. So
That's funny.
that one's actually it's my preferred style of narration. It's a lot of people don't like it because it's repetitive, but I really like the way that Claremont writes for the X Men.
Okay, okay, interesting. I think I would love to dive into the Krakoa era. I don't know if I could handle constantly being
Yeah,
retold everyone's power. Um,
it's it's an acquired taste, but it's certainly I think it's fun. You get also just about almost every classic X Men arc happens in Claremont's era. It's kind of the foundational
okay, so
X Men
it's like building
stories.
all of the future big arcs that people know of.
Yeah, like I assume you've heard of the Dark Phoenix saga,
Yeah.
at least to some extent. Yeah, that's from Claremont. Um, the bird aliens that take place or that are a part of that are also introduced by Claremont, as well as some of the most iconic X Men characters, barring like the original five. Like that's where Storm comes from.
Oh shit.
That's Mister Sinister. That's Colossus. That's all of them. Yeah, Nightcrawler.
Wow. Yeah. No. I.
He's the guy who. He's the reason we know Wolverine as an X Men and not as that guy that the Hulk fought one time.
Oh really? I had no clue. I thought he fought the Hulk when he was an X Men. I know so little about Marvel comics beside like I'm such a I know the movies. I know like the
Yeah, yeah.
Marvel rivals. I know like the games and shit. I know the X Men. I watched the new TV show, 97.
Oh, 97. Yes, I love. That's actually my Discord status is a quote from X Men 97.
Hell yeah! No, not X Men 97. That was like that kind of blew me away, especially since I've never read an X Men comic book. That makes me want to get into the comics.
That X Men 97 was very heavily based on All New X Men by Grant Morrison. Um,
Okay, okay,
it's it's a run that a lot of people say is like foundational X Men reading. Um,
yeah,
I I would say if you've watched X Men '97, you've gotten enough of it that you probably don't need to read it. But there is a lot of stuff in the comic that doesn't happen in the show, and vice versa. I
yeah. As
personally
always.
hated it. I hated that run so much,
Oh
but a lot of people really like it. I think that's also a pretty good place to start.
wow. Good place to start, but you hated it. That's funny. Uh,
Yeah, yeah, that's yeah.
have you tried diving? I know you said X Men is like your thing, but have you tried like branching out, trying other forms of comics even?
I have, but it's usually been one-offs. I've never been able to get myself to like read all 300 issues of Chris Claremont's like Uncanny X-Men in the span of like a couple weeks. I've never been able to do like something of that scale, but I've read
Yeah.
one-offs. I've read the occasional like D&D comic because it was by a writer that I like.
Okay.
A couple DC stuff like Golden Age, Green Lantern, which is just really weird.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. No, I've heard good things about like the Golden Age comics and stuff like that. I don't know. DC is just like I don't care about most of their characters. Like some, especially like Superman.
Oh
Superman, it's
no, no,
no.
no! I love Superman.
You
No,
love Superman.
no,
Okay.
I'll die on this hill any day of the week.
What do you see in Superman?
Unironically,
He's just he kills me as a character.
I think he's one of the best characters that's ever been written, and
Okay.
I'll stand
Okay.
by that. Yeah.
You don't find
Uh,
his unwavering justice boring?
I mean, yeah. That's the like. That's the complaint that everybody has, and I'm not gonna say like, oh, you can't find that boring, but I think there's a lot more to it than that. Like the
Okay.
whole bit of Superman is that he's an alien from outer space. He's got all these powers. He's completely indestructible. He's gonna win every single fight he goes up against. But the interpersonal side of things, the commitment to justice, the helping people, that's all a very humanizing aspect of his character, and that's all meant to be a reflection of you, the reader.
Fair enough.
There's this very, especially in the early Superman comics, where his main villains are like random gangs and like evil landlords and stuff. There's very much this attitude of like being Superman is taking the action to stop the bad thing happening. It's got nothing to do with Clark Kent. It's got nothing to do with the powers. The action of helping is what makes you Superman. It's a very like Mr. Rogers energy. If you've,
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know if you ever watched. Yeah,
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I suppose I don't know. I think most of my experience through things like comics through DC or anything is through the movies, and maybe they just
oh,
completely butchered the character in the movies because it kills me.
they did. That's gonna make some people upset, but they 100% did.
Yeah, yeah. I don't
Um,
know.
I
DC
think if
movies
you've
get to me
in a good way or a bad
in a
way.
bad way. The
Yeah,
DC run, it was really awful.
I if I have to see another clip from the Nolan Batman movies, I might I might start screaming.
I like The Dark Knight. That's like the one DC movie I like.
I the the credit I can give to the Dark Knight movie is that it's better than the next two Dark Knight movies.
Yes, I do agree with that. Okay, okay. Yeah, comic books seems like you really have found your niche. I don't think I have yet. I'm still diving in, but what other media do you consume? You watch movies, TV?
I'm I'm not a big movie person. I'm pretty selective with the movies that I watch, and TV as well, just to a lesser extent. I watch a lot of animation when I can find stuff in the right sort of not genre, like the right sort of tone. A lot of stuff is either kids media or it's
Yeah.
like Family Guy or like there was some Zack Snyder animated like Greek mythology show that I watched, but it's either like way too adult for the sake of being adult, or it's just for kids, right? There's nothing like in that in between ground usually that I'm looking for. Like X Men
Okay.
'97 is kind of exactly what I'm after. It's just not what a lot of stuff is.
Yeah, I love X-Men 97. It was like it was just a blast. Like just getting really engrossed into each character. They're so well like fleshed out. Like especially, I loved Gambit and Rogue in that show.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Those are some of my. Oh, okay. It's hard to say. There's some of my all-time faves, but I'll say that about most of the X-Men. But I do really like those two. I think that's a very good adaptation of their characters.
yeah, that was great. Especially you know what I'm talking about the dance sequence at the wedding.
Yeah, the dance, the dance was really good.
That was so good. No, that whole episode was amazing.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so if you don't watch shows, you read X Men comics. What do you do? You going to college right now?
I do not. No, gave it a shot, but it wasn't. It wasn't for me.
It's not for everyone. Then what are you pursuing? You working?
No, I'm disabled. I can't work, but I'm
Fair
just kind
enough.
of making my own way. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, I should have asked those questions earlier. That's my bad.
No, you're good. You're good.
Well, what are you passionate about? You passionate about politics?
Passionate about politics. Passionate about I mean, mostly politics and like X-Men stuff. Like it's things that make me happy, and it's things that I think need to change.
Those,
The main
those are
stuff.
those are the things I'm most passionate about as well. I will say. Yeah. How are you feeling about what's been going on recently in the news? You keep up with current events?
I don't really keep up with current events, but I do probably have a decent grasp of what's going on. Yeah, it's I mean it's not great. It's pretty fucking bad, to
Yeah.
put it
Yeah.
plainly.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Um. Yeah. I don't know. I feel like we have a chance here in this next election, a chance to at least get some change back, some swing back in the midterms.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think we also, as a country, need to be looking at what we can do beyond electoral politics. Like a to a certain extent, like change is going to come less from top down and more from bottom up. We need to focus on helping each other and just like build community. Like I'm not saying run out and fireball a Walmart, like not like that kind of shit, but just like change is incremental and it's small. It starts as small as introducing yourself to your neighbors.
Okay,
If
interesting.
somebody new moved in,
So
you
yeah,
go introduce yourself, ask if there's anything you can do to help, and it builds from there.
so you're saying we need stronger community.
I mean, it's when you look at historical when you look at historical resistance to regimes or to really any sort of historical resistance to governments or to politics in any regard, it comes from communities. One person alone can't do anything,
Yeah.
and a community together doesn't even need to take direct action. Just being a community is sometimes enough. A place where where people can be safe, where people can go to be safe, goes so much further than any vote or any like brick thrown ever will.
Okay. And how do you think we can rebuild these strong communities? You think it's just word to word, or you think there's some other way we can do to
I
rebuild?
I think I mean it has to be personal and it has to be direct and honest. I think primarily it's just talking to your neighbors. I mean, I especially now with the internet, as well as just the general climate around the globe. Atomization is a really big problem
Yeah.
in communities and in our society, and it's you break through it by just talking to people. Introduce yourself, ask their name, and then over time that develops into something bigger and something stronger.
Fair enough. Well, if you're listening, go introduce yourself to your neighbor. Get out there. Be social. Um, yeah, you play any? You said you mentioned D and D comics. You play D&D.
I do play D&D, play other TTRPGs as well, but yeah.
Define define GTRPG for me.
Uh, oh, what I said? The
Yeah.
TTRPG,
TT.
for tabletop role
Oh,
playing,
okay. I think you said GT. I was like,
as
I've never
opposed.
heard of that.
That's fair enough. Yeah, neither have I.
Okay, so tabletop RPGs. Are we talking like uh, Warhammer? What else are we talking?
It's well, so that's where the tabletop distinction comes in because I think Warhammer is like a an RPG, but a TTRPG is specifically the like D&D style. Um, you put on your fucking wizard hat and go roll up a character. Um, you got other big names are like Lancer or Pathfinder, but there's basically an infinite number of of stuff like that, spanning all across the genres. Like you have your generic like D&D, Pathfinder fantasies. You got
Yeah.
like Starjammer, which is sci-fi, Eureka, which is like an urban fantasy detective story, and there's like stuff all across the spectrum.
Interesting. Yeah, I feel like I've heard of Pathfinder, but really I've only heard like I've played like one or two things of D&D. Where like I don't know which one do you start with? Is it D&D? Is that the gateway in?
Um, D&D was my gateway in, specifically fourth edition, which was very not rules dense is the wrong term, but it was very here's all of the special abilities that your character gets. And so I remember like as a kid I'd check a book out from the library and just like read through it and memorize as much as I can. But there's a lot of TTRPGs that I think are better out there for new players than D&D. I think it's not. I think it's definitely not the best suited for new players to TTRPGs. But I honestly just think if you can find a group of people that you trust and that want to play with you, really it'll be fine regardless. Like there are some where the rules book is 700 pages long,
Yeah.
but it's workable. Like I'd say the group is more important than the game.
Fair enough. Talking about it goes back to sociability. Just go out there and talk to people, I
Yeah.
guess. Um, I don't know. D&D. I played. Like I said, I played two games. One of the games, it just kind of fell apart. Like we were just playing.
Yeah.
We're playing for a little bit, and then somebody quits, and then somebody a character dies. And they don't want to make a new character. I don't
Yeah,
know.
scheduling is the hardest part. Um,
Yeah.
it's I've been trying to get a group going with some of my friends for about like a month or two now, and we're maybe almost there, maybe not. It's just so hard to tell. And then one person has a schedule change, and you never have another session again. Yeah,
Yeah. That I don't know. That's rough, especially like I don't know. Like it really does. I've realized it depends on the group on how seriously they are taking it, and versus how seriously
yeah.
you take it.
It's that's part of the selecting a group is it's often called like a session zero. There's terms for it in like all sorts of different hobbies.
Yeah.
But just talking about expectations, talking about what you want from the game, and seriousness or like committedness to it is a very important one to talk about.
Yeah. What what kind of characters or classes, I should say? What kind of like roles have you played in D&D?
As far as mechanics go, I'm very experienced with the rules, so I'm comfortable playing most everything. Um, I should specify because there's been recently they kind of like re-released Dungeons and Dragons
Oh.
from fifth edition to like 5.5, which there's precedent for. But so there's been like a big rules update that I mean some people have changed the new rules, some people haven't. It's just like there's a new game now that's the same but also different.
Okay, interesting.
But I haven't gotten to play with the new rules yet because I know there's a lot of changes. Like they made the monk class a lot more viable than it is in the older rules, which I'm excited to try out because that was one of my favorites when I first got into the game.
I love that. That's one of the two characters, two roles I played as was the monk.
Oh, nice. What was the other one?
The other one, oh shit, it was a sorcerer. That was the other one.
Oh, yeah.
What is that? What is that?
That the one class I have never and probably will never play, and I don't have a good reason for it.
Okay, interesting. I just
I
love
I just don't like
cantrips.
sorcerers.
You're just like a sorcerer. It's just a gut feeling.
Yeah, just a gut feeling. I play like charisma based casters a lot. Like I'll play warlocks, I'll play bards,
Yeah.
I'll play sorcerer, or I'll play paladins who lean more spellcasting than martial. But yeah, I won't touch sorcerers.
Okay, damn. I don't know. Sorcerer is fun. I just loved like having all those cantrip slots that I could just like fireball. Suddenly just
Yeah,
shoot random stuff at people.
they also got some new tools in the new version that looks fun as well. Like they can change damage types of their spells,
Oh,
just kind
okay.
of on a whim, which is, I mean, resource investment to do so, but it adds a level of versatility that's really nice.
Okay, yeah, interesting. Um, I don't know. Maybe I'll have to get back into D&D. This 5.5 version sounds interesting.
I'd say it looks more thoughtfully designed than fifth edition does.
Fifth, yeah.
Than the original rules. There's less of a gap between what's often called like the martial caster divide, because if you take it to high levels, a character who can't cast high level spells just really can't do a whole lot. Um,
Mm,
it's something that a lot of other games I think manage better. Is that's it's probably one of the biggest failings of fifth edition is
yeah.
some characters are just going to be weaker by virtue of not being able to cast the wish spell.
They just get
It's
outscaled.
something, yeah, you get outscaled. It's something that like Pathfinder does really well. Um, like martial characters can like you can punch a mountain in half. Like you can do crazy shit that is on par
Holy
with
shit.
what the casters are doing.
Tell me about this
Um,
Pathfinder game.
Pathfinder, I have a lot less experience with.
Oh,
It
okay.
is um, a a little bit of a more rules intensive fifth edition, but it is very similar to fifth edition. The combat is more tactical, and the rules are more clearly defined. As the character customization that you have at your fingertips is a lot more diverse.
Okay, interesting. Interesting.
There's an optional rule of skill feats, which is one of those optional rules that almost every table plays with, as far as I understand, where every second level you get a skill feat, which just modifies or improves skills or things that you can do with skills. Um, and it will, like, they'll unlock based on how proficient you are with various skills. Pathfinder has 4 levels of proficiency to
Yeah.
D&D's like 1, so it just adds a level of nuance to a lot of the 5th edition stuff that's already there.
Okay, yeah, no. That sounds that sounds fun. I've been meaning to definitely dive back in. What role would you suggest? I know you said you play all of them, but like what would you suggest to someone to play? Like what's a fun one?
Um, I mean, I really like support characters. Um, for as much as D&D is a combat focused game, I find I get a lot of enjoyment from playing characters whose strengths lie outside of combat. Um, it's why I play a lot of bards, because you get the ability to buff your teammates and debuff enemies with very little investment, and then you get to do just a bunch of stuff out of combat, um, to kind of strengthen what tends to be a deficit for most parties.
Okay, bards. So that's like a category called support characters where they're just like helping out the party.
Not it's a way that you can support as an archetype more borrowed from other RPGs, but
Okay.
like Bard the class, I would recommend is probably the best way to play a support character, because you get access to some really powerful spells that can lock enemies down or make your allies stronger. You get bardic inspiration, which lets your allies be better on their rolls, and then you also get very good skill proficiencies. You you can pick whatever skill proficiencies your party needs. You get expertise to make yourself better in them,
Yeah.
and you get a lot of out of combat utility features from the class as well.
Okay, maybe I'll play a bard by my next campaign. That sounds like a fun time. Have you done any like DMing or an experience with that?
A little bit when I was younger, but I like playing one character and really trying to flesh them out as much as possible. I'm not big on bouncing between characters really.
Fair enough. It seems a little overwhelming to me personally, trying to
Yeah,
manage everything.
I've a couple friends who are both like very good DMs and also DM a lot, and it's a skill that I'm really impressed by, but it doesn't seem like it's something that's up my alley.
Okay, okay. Um, yeah, D&D. Well, I hear that you also like philosophy. We talked. I talked to my first guest Marcus about philosophy. I don't know. I feel like there's so much I don't know about philosophy. Like when you say when someone says that they're into philosophy, what does that mean like to you?
That they're the most annoying person in the room.
Fair enough. Fair
I
enough.
I probably due to the fact that I don't have like a formal education in it, but I don't really I think studying philosophy is for I think it's a waste of time, to put it plainly. I say this as someone who spends a lot of her time studying philosophy. I think it's a complete waste of time.
Damn. Damn. Yeah, I was struggling. I've struggled to grasp. Like I haven't talked. Marcus is like the first of like two people I've talked to about philosophy, and I struggle to grasp what philosophers do in a modern society.
Well, kind of the same thing that they did in previous societies, just thinking and talking and writing about it. Varying levels of those three things, sometimes only one or only two of those things, but just thinking ideas and thoughts and thinking about those thoughts really hard. Anything really can be considered philosophy. It's like art. Anything can be considered art or philosophy if you want it to be. It's just there's a certain kind of person that's like, no, I'm an artist, I'm a philosopher, that's who I am. And that kind of tells you all you need to know about the person.
Okay, okay, okay. Throw it a little shade. So would you consider this podcast to be a philosophy podcast?
From what I've seen so far, yeah.
Okay, okay. I might hit the rebrand, call it philosophy podcast. I mean, two out of three guests I've had on have been interested in studying and you said you like to research philosophy in your own time. What does that exactly mean?
um, I I do read works that philosophers have written, but that's not my like primary way of engaging with philosophy. I take a more historiographical approach. That is absolutely not a word.
It's okay. We're
I
adding it to our personal dictionary here.
An approach more mirroring historiography, where I like looking at the impacts that philosophies have had, rather than actually analyzing what some dead guy thought, because that's a lot less interesting to me. I've been
Okay.
a history enjoyer most of my life, but this guy who died in this year is a lot less important to me than
Yeah.
the impact they had, and so that's how I like to look at philosophy.
Okay. That's something I can get behind. I love researching history and diving into how did we get from point A to point B. You I'm assuming, have you heard of the Art of War?
Yes, I have indeed.
Okay. Well, what, I don't know. What do you think about that? Like, what to you is the biggest piece of like philosophical text? Um, what's like a
Ooh.
yeah? What are the big ones that you think have impacted history? Like the Art of War. Like I feel like people know that one.
I think the philosophy that has impacted history the most and the philosophy that's the most like recognized now, I think are going to be on like two opposite ends of the spectrum.
Oh,
I
interesting.
I think the philosophy that's impacted the world the most is the the philosophy of yeah, like the philosophy of the people. Like it's the stuff that doesn't get written down but impacts movements, from like the
Mm.
Luddites in England to any other group of, because that's where you have the most people, is it's going to be the lowest class
Yeah.
in any given society. They're doing just as much philosophy, just as much thinking as any other group. It doesn't get remembered, doesn't get recorded. I think that's what the most impactful philosophy is going to be anywhere on the globe.
Okay, so
But the most,
you're
yeah,
trying to like pulling out from like specific texts or like works. You're saying like people in the working class, their philosophies that they come up with as they approach like situations like hardships and whatnot.
yeah. I think even before there's like a concept of, or in places where there wasn't as much a concept of the working class, I think you still get that in just whoever's at the lowest of society. Is That's what's impacting society the most, is their attitude to what they do, their attitude to the hierarchies that they're at the bottom of. Like that's how you get revolutions, but that's also how you get slower societal change. Like,
Hmm.
an empire might not end because it's ransacked by its own people. It might just slowly peter out, and that's 100% due to the actions and beliefs of the people who live there.
Okay, okay. Well, there still is some historical like philosophy that is like very much based on the working class. I mean, you look at these
Yes, yes.
big books and they are, even if they're not based on, they are influencing the working class. You know. So
Yeah.
like hit me with some of those. Like what are, cuz I know very little about this fear. I know about like Aristotle, I know about like the art of war. I know about like some like Japanese like Bushido, and how that influenced like war in Japan. But tell me more about stuff like that.
I think if we're talking like old history, then um, the the sophists in ancient Greece come to mind. Maybe not as directly impactful, but we are seeing their legacy play out in real time, and it's we're very much still living in a world of sophistry.
Okay, what is that like?
It's depending on how much you like the sophists. It's anywhere from uh, yada yada, some like beautiful nonsense about like being able to make good arguments, to just straight up lying. It's just kind of lying to people. Um,
Okay.
the so- the sophists were practitioners of rhetoric, which is the art of convincing people that your argument is correct.
Yeah.
Um, there's a quote that I don't have in front of me, so I'm going to paraphrase from
Okay.
a guy called Georgius, um, who's probably the most famous sophist at this point, who says like a good rhetorician can argue, can make a good argument on any subject regardless of how much they know about it, because they're good at rhetoric. It's just the idea of being able to argue well no matter how much nonsense you're saying.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like I relate to that heavily. That's a big proponent of my arguments. I don't know I was a sophist or what how do you pronounce it? Sophist or softist?
Sophist.
Sophist.
SOPH
Soft
IT
is.
or IST. Sophist.
Sophist. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, I don't know. These things are fascinating to me. Briefly, you mentioned if we're talking old history, but does that mean you have a more relevant one, a more recent?
I think it's hard to argue modern philosophy that's been more impactful than um, I mean, you kind of go one side or the other depending on which one you've personally read, but
Hmm.
works written about neoliberalism or works written about communism. Like, I feel like it's hard to make an argument that those aren't some of the most influential political works of our time.
No, I mean I think they definitely are. I mean, you look at there's so much like that's going on currently, and then you look at stuff that's been going on past decades, jump back centuries. I mean, regimes have fallen and risen. Just gonna set that back up there. Um, yeah. How do you feel about those ideas? Like,
I mean, my issue with a lot of like philosophical thought is that I came to philosophy through history.
yeah.
I was interested in history first, but then I got interested in argumentation and specifically in rhetoric. It's where I learned about the sophists,
Hmm.
and that's very much also the school of argumentation of conveying beliefs that I subscribe to as well. Um, I just don't really see the value in writing down a belief system or in writing down philosophical thought because at the end of the day, you're just putting down words that you want someone else to believe. And then there's going to be a spectrum of how much those words are true to how much you're trying to convince people that you're right. And that's going to change depending on who's writing, when they're writing, who their intended audience is. But
Hmm.
at the end of the day, I think the idea, the like quintessential essence of something that can never truly be conveyed to another person, that is what philosophy is about to me more than words, more than a story, more than anything that can be told to someone else.
Okay. I'm trying to keep up with what you're trying to say here. Um, but you're saying it's to you since the rhetoric is all about the form of the arguments and how they're happening. You're saying there's no point in trying to write down some of these philosophical ideas since they are more active. Is that what you're
My
trying to?
my opinion is it's well because I'm not writing it, so like it's a opinion that I apply more to like reading philosophy, but like I don't really see the point in like knowing direct quotes from Karl Marx or something. Like if you understand the idea that is being conveyed, which you 100% can get, like you can understand what Marx is talking about
Yeah.
because you read Das Kapital. Like that's 100% something that happens. You can also understand Marx without ever having heard of his name or hearing about communism as a concept at all. Like people will arrive to philosophical ideas regardless of what their environmental factors are.
Hmm.
And so at a certain point, I think the rhetoric of communism or capitalism or neoliberalism is a lot less important than the actual ideas and influence you're putting out into the world through actions.
Yeah. Okay. Um. Yeah. I mean that's a an interesting idea that people will you're saying get to these ideas. We don't have to be quoting a specific person or reading the certain text. There's many paths to lead to these generations of philosophical discussion and ideation. Is that what you're trying to?
Yeah, yeah. Like I mean, like throughout history, the philosophers of any given culture tend to be of a higher class than the people around them. It tends
Hmm.
to be a prestigious position. It's sometimes it is explicitly limited, like you can only do philosophy if you are in this position. Sometimes it's more indirectly limited, like you need to be able to sustain yourself on your own finances while spending most of your time writing nonsense down in books. Um, but like every person, regardless of their status, has interesting beliefs, has
Yeah.
important things to share and things that can be learned from. And there's a lot of pressure in fields like philosophy to focus on academia and to focus on what's
Mm.
written down and what we have access to. And in a way, it makes sense because no idea comes from one person. Like,
Yeah.
Karl Marx didn't found communism, Aristotle didn't found whatever school of philosophy he did. It every idea is a collaborative project of thousands upon thousands of people. And by working off of the past, that's how we build on that. But it's also, I mean, only certain cultures prioritize the written word over other forms of history, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Only certain people got access to the education needed to write. Only some people had access to the materials required to write down, and only some of the things that have been written down survived to the modern day. When we limit ourselves to the ivory tower of academia, we lose out on so much potential knowledge and potential insights from the entire globe that have just been missed because they weren't prioritized enough to make it to us.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. That's a big thing that I personally even want to do with this podcast. Like that's the big reason I kind of founded random guest is just because I've realized there's so many people have things to say. So many people have their own stories, and you can learn so much from just your average person off the street that maybe you couldn't learn from like a very specific book that you've been told to read.
Yeah, 100%. I have a lot of respect for interviews as a medium because there's yeah, like you said, there's so much you can get from any random person, and you never know, like you never know what context you're gonna learn like life changing pieces of advice because it's not just in the places you're told to look; it's everywhere around you. You just need to be willing to listen.
Yeah, no, I mean I completely agree. I love watching interviews. That's a big thing that inspires me to go out and do things. Is interviews and documentary work. I'm a film guy, so I
Oh,
love
nice.
I love watching. People just go out like there's been especially last year there was some generational like documentary like oh my god I forget what it's called but I think it's No Land something like that but it was a documentary on Palestine last year and
Oh,
there's been some great work that people are going out there and just in this modern age especially with AI I feel like if you spend too much time online like you were saying earlier go out and talk to your neighbor like they're people are such fascinating creatures and like there's something so unhuman like AI is not it's not a thinking thing it's just spitting regurgitating things that we have made and the only way to keep going I think we need to just do things just interview whoever will join your podcast I truly believe that we need to as a society we might even be getting back to like human connection.
yeah. At the root of everything, I think is we we are a species that has had cultures, had societies for as long as we can trace back archaeological records. And I think that should say something about who we are and what we need.
Yeah. No, for sure. Do you have any creative works? Any passion projects?
Oh, like things that I've made.
Yeah.
I write poetry on my own time, but I don't do like big stuff like what you're doing.
I don't even know if this is big. We on episode 3 out here. We're trying. Um, Poetry's
Three more
cool.
episodes than I've made.
More episodes than you. Fair enough. Fair enough. Fair enough. Um, but poetry's cool. I don't know. It's funny that you're talking about poetry because there's something so much about the written word. You know, like we were just talking about how quoting people. You know, you personally don't believe quoting philosophers. You don't see the importance of it, but I think it's it's human connection. You know, we can find that in words. You know, words are the essence of human thought. I don't know.
I think that's true. I just think there's a lot of other ways to find that connection, and I wouldn't say I like dislike being a poet or writing poetry, but I do wish I had a different way of connecting to people or creating that connection, because I feel like the written word gets prioritized too much, if that makes sense.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, that's one thing throughout all of like academia. There's always, what book, what text are we reading for class? You know, what are we doing next? I do agree that it is so much more about the spoken word that needs to be highlighted. I can see that. But yeah, how's we're gonna we're gonna get to I think how far are we? We're at like 50 minutes in. How are you feeling? How's this week been?
Um, week's been pretty good. Been pretty slow, but that's pretty typical for me.
I feel that. I feel that. I feel like I'm usually having slow weeks. This one's been feeling like a unusually busy one for me, but I get slow weeks. You have any topics you want to dive in before we reach the end of this podcast episode?
I mean, nothing new, but if there's anything you want to revisit, I'm happy to.
I feel like I kind of brushed politics aside. I don't know. I someday I'm
That
gonna
might be the right call.
that might be the right call. You might be right there, but someday I'm gonna find a guest who's really up to date with current politics. But what when you say you like politics, what are you talking purely history?
I read political theory for fun because there's something wrong with me. Um, I've been reading political theory for fun since grade school,
Oh wow.
which, yeah, there's a lot of it out there. It's a lot of, I mean, it's basically just philosophy, like what I was saying earlier about how like at pretty much anything is philosophy. This is like kind of what I'm talking about. Political theory, poetry, it's all the same thing.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
especially as you dive into more like historical examples of it, you get like Irish Republican poets who were literally reading or leading revolutions and writing political theory, and it's all meshed in with the poetry they wrote, and it's so hard to like categorize them of like, okay, so this is politics and this is poetry and this is
Yeah.
philosophy. It's like that's all the same thing, really.
Yeah, I will say as creatures we love labeling things. I do. I'll be like, "No,
Yeah.
but what's the philosophy here?" But it is true. you know, everything we do is interconnected to the other things we're doing in some fashion. But so political theory, are we talking like I know we just talked about Marx, like communism, socialism. Is that it? Is it just like socialism and capitalism? What else does political theory entail?
Um, minority minority studies is I think what the field is called in modern day, but like
Hmm.
a lot of um, political stuff that's been written throughout time has been about the oppression or liberation in the face of oppression of oppressed groups.
Yeah.
Um, my like my main particular area of focus on the history side of things is Ireland in like the early 1900s,
Hell yeah.
um, Easter Rising area. So that's where like a lot of the political writings I've read have come from, about like liberation of the Irish people. But there's, I mean, anti-colonialist writings from Africa, from South and Central America. You get people writing about being queer or being minority ethnic groups all over the world. I'd say that's probably the majority of political works is just it's about being a minority and about that struggle.
That makes sense. I don't know why. I hear political and immediately I'm like, okay, we're just writing about who's the president. I didn't. That makes a lot more sense because I was like, this is a whole thing that apparently a lot of people are into political theory. Yeah, that never dawned on me that way. Um,
There is also that side of things. Like there is also a bunch of writing about like who the king is, who the king should be, but I refuse to read that.
I refuse to read that as well. Quite frankly, Ireland. I don't know. Ireland's so fascinating. Like the IRA and
Yeah.
like the way Ireland was in Europe. It's like the European nation that was not treated like the other European nations.
It's really fascinating to because I was learning about Ireland on my own time, um, at the same time that my schooling was talking about colonization in other parts of the world,
Mm-hmm.
Africa, India, South and Central America,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it
yeah.
really is like it gets said a lot that Ireland was like the blueprint for what um, the English did to the rest of the world, but it really is like Oliver Cromwell, the fabrication of the um, Protestant Catholic divide, the starvation of like the Great Famine,
Yeah.
the landlord system. It's all stuff that gets used in parts of in other parts of the world that gets exported out after it's like tested in England's backyard, essentially.
Yeah. No, I don't know. It's crazy. Just I don't know. I don't know what. I feel like I want to learn more about Ireland. My grandparent and my heritage is from Ireland. I'm a third generation American, and I feel like I don't know enough about Ireland. You just hear like I know about the potato famine. I know about the IRA. I know about like some of the history, but there's so much there that I really want to dive into.
I mean, there's a lot there, but like, I mean, there's a lot there anywhere. It's
Yeah.
I find myself asking like, why Ireland? Why is that what captivated my attention? And I never really have an answer, but it's
Hmm.
the political history, especially with like the IRA, is very very fascinating.
Yeah.
Um, and you get to see it's a great microcosm of revolutions as a concept of how messy they are and how complicated politics is when it's applied to the real world.
Yeah. 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 Yeah, no, it's fascinating stuff. This is a random plug, but have you read Punk Rock Jesus?
I have not.
I feel like you would love Punk Rock Jesus. Um, It's about obviously Jesus being a punk rock star. Um, but it's like it's called this thing called the J2 movement, where like these in the future these rich people like find some DNA of like the shroud of Jesus and they clone him. And that's fascinating and all, but kind of the big like main focus that like really pulls the whole thing together is the bodyguard of Jesus 2 is an ex-member of the Irish Republican Army. And so
Oh, that's fascinating.
it starts in like his childhood and he's kind of become like I don't know, you should definitely read it. It's from Vertigo Comics. Um Definitely check out shout out Punk Rock Jesus. That's my go right there.
Yeah, that's a really interesting premise. You wouldn't happen to know which uh, version of the IRA the bodyguard is from, would you?
No, I wish I did. I didn't even know there was that many. I know there's like the new IRA, like the one that rose in the what late 1900s, and I know there was like the
Yeah.
IRA that actually like helped like right when they were really pushing to. I think it was part of the Northern Ireland IRA, like the
There's
post freedom of the Republic of Ireland. I think they were in Northern Ireland.
there's a lot of IRAs is the tricky bit, and
Mm.
reading like primary sources or even secondary sources is hard because they all refer to themselves as the IRA. We're the only IRA guys, trust us, and it's like six different groups saying it.
Yeah.
Um, but the splits in the IRA are all very fascinating. You get like the biggest split is between the provisional IRA, who that's generally who people think of. That's the main group that was active during the Troubles, um, which then splits and becomes the real IRA, and then the new IRA, which are the ones that stayed active the longest. Like each new succession there stayed fighting the Brits longer than the rest.
Yeah.
Um, as the troubles eventually came to a close, but you also have the God. I don't even remember what their full name, but they get called the Stickies a lot. Was like an explicitly communist branch of the IRA that split from the provisional IRA, and they didn't do a whole lot of fighting. Um, they were more looking for like working class solidarity between them and the people of Northern Ireland, and then we're gonna like do a revolution. And then you have another communist group of the IRA who is like, no, we're gonna keep fighting the English, but also we're communist. And it's just really fascinating. The history
Yeah.
of like labor rights as it intersects with Irish republicanism is really fascinating.
That is quite fascinating. I imagine there's a good amount of documentation on it, like compared to a lot of revolutions around the world. I feel like it's burning the old stuff. Whereas like the British, they're still like Britain's still there. Like they didn't like destroy the old regime that
Yeah.
was oppressing them. So I imagine there's quite a lot known about it.
There is, and it's also the fact that because Ireland was so close to England geographically, um, and then um, also politically at the time, even though the Irish were looked down upon, they still had significantly more options generally than
Mhm.
colonized peoples in other places of the world.
Yeah.
Like there are so many well-known Irish poets or Irish authors, like Oscar Wilde, W.B. Yeats, etc. Bram Stoker, like Dracula, that's written by an Irishman. Um, and every so often, someone of that standing, or someone who could have been of that standing, decides to write political philosophy instead. or decides to write a history of the oppression in Ireland, and so you
Hmm.
get you because of that privilege and opportunity that Ireland got, you get a lot more writing than other oppressed peoples, because like
Yeah.
Ireland had a very strong. If we go back way back in Ireland, pre-Christian, very strong oral tradition starts to fade out as Christianity is introduced, but it's still going very strong. And then the English come in and do several things that, whether or not they are considered to be genocides, is the topic of hot debate.
Yeah.
But English does do a lot of things there, and now Ireland has the written word, or they have a much stronger culture around the written word, and so you get a lot of stuff written down because of how long they've been colonized, because um, they have the opportunity to go to England and like leave Ireland behind in a sense, even though
Yeah.
most don't. But like the opportunity to be seen as accomplished in the English sense of the word, despite being a colonized people, and then a lot come back home and use those skills to further Irish independence or even to just chronicle the history.
Yeah. No, I mean that is interesting thinking about. We've talked about the written word versus spoken word a lot here. Um, it is interesting thinking about why things are written down and how these traditions come to be. 'Cause especially nowadays, everything gets written down. Like even most interviews, the second that interview ends, we're transcribing it. We've been actively like writing everything you've been saying down. I mean, I haven't, but most interviews do.
Yeah, I mean it's
Yeah.
it's not like the written word has a lot of advantages. Don't get me wrong, but it's I view everything as having positives and negatives. Um, like um, and I just think that if something gets focused on for too long, you start to become blind to both of those, and you only see the positive or the negative depending on if you like it. But it's really hard to see both once you're used to something. Um, and so it's important to keep in mind that for every advantage the thing you like has, it has a disadvantage, and for every disadvantage the thing you dislike has, it has an advantage. And I think that's a really
Yeah.
important thing to keep in mind, both in personal life, but also as it applies to like philosophy and politics. Like there's always another side to whatever argument, whatever position you're taking.
Yeah. I mean that. No, that's interesting stuff. Um. Yeah. We're getting near the end of our time here, and I just realized you're my first guest that hasn't been either in person. My last guest was just like right there, so I could just have the mic. So for my thumbnail, I just had me facing them. I'm thumbnail thinking here, which is we're getting a little meta here today. What do you want in the thumbnail? Because I'm looking at your profile pic, and I feel like I need to ask if you want this representing you in big format.
I'm perfectly okay with this representing me. I feel like this is a good depiction.
Okay, what is that?
That is it's got cat ears on.
I have
That
noticed.
was a bit with friends, but the profile picture is, I can't believe I forgot this. This is Kit Tanthalos from Willow, which is one of my favorite TV shows of all time.
Okay. This is a character from a TV show that has cat ears as a bit. Okay.
Yeah.
I
Um,
was like, is this an image of you with cat ears on it? Okay. Okay.
I would highly recommend watching Willow.
Willow. You said it's a
It's
TV show?
TV show that you can find on the internet because it has been taken down from Disney Plus. But it's up, it's available. It's not too hard to find.
Okay.
It's a sequel TV show to a 80s or 90s movie called, well, of the same name, called Willow. Um, that I mean, it's a particular genre, but if you like
Wait,
90s
do you
fantasy,
say it's a sequel or it is? Was it 1988 Willow?
yeah, that would be the movie, and then there's a sequel TV show that just has the same name.
Okay, interesting. I'll have to check it out for sure. Um, is there any shout outs you wanna put out there? Any way you want people to find you?
Um, no, no, absolutely not.
That's fair. I think that's been my response from everyone so far. We'll see if it persists. Um, well, it was great having you on. Any last comments or questions before I uh, cut us out here?
No, just I hope everybody watching this has a good day, and go share some joy with people.
Hell yeah, go share some
Make
joy.
make somebody cookies.
Make someone cookies. Meet your neighbor if you haven't met your neighbor.